Then Rose, Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling, and when the country music plays, means it's time to talk with our very good friend Brent Hubbs, who joins us every Friday, courtesy of VolQuest and On 3, right here on the show. What's up, Brent? How are you?
Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well on this Friday.
You too.
Hey, Brent, good morning, man.
Brent, all these announcements about players, coaches, teams being in the EA Sports video game, are beat writers or Vol Network broadcasters in the game? Can you confirm you will be in the EA Sports video game, Brent?
I will not be in the
Dang
game.
it.
I think Kurt Herbstricht's dog probably took my place in the game, to be honest with you. So I was not a part, was not included. I can't opt in for any money, and I can't even pay him any money to be in the game. So no, I'm not.
Shoot.
I'm not a part.
I
wish I were.
I was expecting you to be in it, Brown. Be real. They just call you the hub. That's what they can't even do that.
Yeah, no, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't think so.
Well, I'll just play the video game and then listen to the podcasts of these conversations and then go from there and act like you are Brent. Brent, Darrell Sims, William Inge added to Josh Heupel's staff. I know Inge a little bit more of an unknown commodity considering he hasn't recruited or coached in the South as much as Sims. But over the course of this week, what do you feel like you've learned about those two guys? What are people on campus saying about the two new members of Josh Heupel's staff?
Well, I think with Inge, it was for Tim Banks. It was about a comfort level with someone who could help him marry the front end of the defense with the back end of the defense. And Coach Banks had got to know Coach Inge a little bit through some clinics and some things like that. They've never worked together, and I think he spent a ton of time. Coach Banks did when there was the talk of Brian Jean-Marie leaving, and Tim Banks started looking at candidates. He spent a ton of time looking at the play of the linebackers and the defense that Coach Inge had when he was at, San Diego State, Fresno State, Indiana, Washington, and felt comfortable after talking to him and looking at that he would be a good fit for him. But you're right, he's never recruited in the South. I think a lot of that hire was about X's and O's and what Tim Banks felt like he needed to complete his defense. And then Darrell Sims is a guy who's up and coming. He's moved around a lot, but every move he's made has been an upward move, with the exception of going from Louisville to Cincinnati when he followed Scott Satterfield to Cincinnati from Louisville. But every move he's made has been, on a forward, upward trajectory. And everybody you talk to, and in talking to him, he's a relationships type guy, got a lot of energy. And I think this offensive staff, of all the candidates they interviewed, and the three finalists, felt like Sims was probably the best fit for them. And Sims is in town working. He got to town on Wednesday, and then Coach Inge will be in this weekend.
Brent Hubbs of VolQuest On 3, our guest. Brent, Kelsey Pope is a coach who was a hot commodity this offseason as well, and over the past few weeks. You guys wrote in the War Room that Georgia had pursued him a little bit. What can you tell us about just how aggressively they went after him and how big it is for Tennessee to keep him?
Well, I think it's big to keep him because, again, your continuity factors there. I think he's done a good job with the wide receivers. And even before he was an on-the-field coach, Jalen Hyatt talked about how important he was for him. And I think that the continued development of that position and keeping your continuity, I think it's important. Georgia certainly had some interest. I don't know if he was, number one on the board or number three on the board or where it was, but they definitely had some interest in him and had reached out. He's a guy that Alabama had interest in him at one point as well. So I think he's pretty well thought of out there. And I think he's, everything says he's going to come back and be at Tennessee. And I think he's going to be one of the coaches that gets an extension on his contract. And hopefully Tennessee gets those things ironed out and completed here in the next little bit, because it feels like they're a little bit behind in getting those done. But hopefully they'll have those done here in the next few weeks, and everything will be fully settled with the staff.
Brent Hubbs with us this morning of VolQuest, joining us talking Vols, man. I was having a random conversation with a good friend of mine this week, and they asked me about the kid from Greenbrier. And, of course, I have to ask you about him because you wrote about him, man. Nathan Robinson out of Greenbrier, and also Tyree Weathersby, both of those young men right there defensively. What can be expected from them since they're a bit healthy and in shape right now?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, Ramon, is that they're healthy. Weathersby would have played last year. I think he would have been in the rotation as a strong side defensive end. And there was a ton of excitement about him before he had the hip injury in fall camp. He had to have hip surgery. You always wonder about guys who have hip surgery. That's not a common injury. But he is rehabbed, is doing well. He's worked out and done everything this off season that you want him to do. And he should be ready to go for spring practice. I'm sure they'll be cautious with him and make sure that they're, not overdoing it with him just in spring, because you want to have him ready for August and you want to ease him back if you need to. And then, Nathan Robinson is a guy who came in and he had to have wrist surgery and then he had to have shoulder surgery, and he just wasn't very healthy. And so he didn't play but just a couple of games this year. He is healthy physically. He looks better than he's ever looked, and really curious to see him, this spring. Now, the interior of this defensive line is physical. It's veteran. There's bodies there, but this is a great opportunity for him this spring to see where he's at, because he is healthy and he looks better than he's looked since he's been here. So big body guy. I remember interviewing him at Greenbrier when he was getting ready to be a senior in high school. He was playing outside linebacker as a stand-up guy, and he's quickly grown into a defensive tackle, which was easy to see he was going to, but still got some athletic ability about him. I'm curious to see him this spring.
I had a question written down for you since Wednesday, Hubs, just so you know, man. I was excited. I was excited to talk to Hubs, okay?
All right.
With that being said, it's a general football question, but we discussed the new college football playoffs on the show recently and the new rules that they've dropped down on as far as the amount of teams coming in. I have to ask you, because Will actually brought up a point. It's like, well, it's still going to be the same four. And I'm just like, okay, well, I wanted to ask you the difference between the number ones and the team 12. How big of a talent gap, coach gap, team quality gap do you expect it if we're going from 4 to 12 as far as making the college football playoffs now? I don't want to call it fair. I want to call it entertaining. How big of a gap will it be between 1 and 12?
Well, I mean, from a pure talent standpoint, there's going to be a gap there, to the point that you're going to say, if those two teams played 10 times, the one seed's going to win, 8 or 9 of them. But as we all know, it's about one game, right? Yeah. And that's how upsets happen. So, I think that it's going to be probably, quote, the same 4 as everybody wants to talk about. But you're going to have to earn your way to get through there, because there's going to be an opportunity for somebody to knock somebody off, in a true upset. So, my concern is if they're really going to go to 14 or 16 here in short order. I mean, you don't want to water it down to where the first round is just completely pointless, right? I think that's the threshold you're trying to find.
I guess that's where I was going. Like, where, and I ain't mean to cut you off, but like, what level of March Madness will we have in college football as far as upsets? You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess that's why I was headed with it also.
I don't think it will be – I don't think it'll be anything like – one, you're not going to have that many volumes of teams. You're not going to have that many Cinderella stories of teams like, St. Mary's and stuff like that. I mean, everybody that you're going to get into the playoff, you're going to have known them all season long. I think you can see some upsets in there, but I don't think it's going to be – it's not going to create – the March Madness level of upsets, but it's going to create great entertainment and great excitement in the month of December. And let's face it, that's what you're looking for, right? I mean, for all the problems that college football has right now, transfer portal, NIL, coaches leaving to go to the NFL, all the things that you have going on. I mean, the NCAA came out with a great rule yesterday. You can't decorate a hotel room for official visits. I mean, that's going to really turn some people away. That's going to fix all of the issues in college football, because when I think about what's going on in college football, Timmy having a cookie cake waiting for him in his hotel room, it's probably not way up my list, right? But anyway, we got that fixed, which was important. For all the things college football has going on that are concerning or people say are wrong or anything else, the entertainment value of the sport has never been higher. Okay? It's never been a better sport from an entertainment standpoint. All they've done now with the expansion of the playoff is they've extended their entertainment value through Christmas. So instead of having 3 or 4 weeks off there where you're like, well, I wish college football would come back, and you get one day of it with bowl games, even people are watching, quote, meaningless bowl games. Now in December, you're going to have meaningful games to decide a championship. So whether there's a bunch of upsets or there's not a bunch of upsets, you have extended the regular season, which is the entertainment value and what everybody loves about college football. And you're not really tarnishing the regular season by allowing too many teams in. That's where you got to be careful with the number that you let in. Because if you start to diminish what a game in October means, then you got concerns. Like college basketball in December doesn't move the needle unless it's just your team. Like there's just not a lot of casual fans watching. Casual fans going to be watching college football playoff games in December because it's still the entertainment value because you're not watering everything down. So your viewership's not going to die in October thinking, well, everybody gets in the playoffs, so we're not worried about it. College football is in a great spot right now as long as they don't expand too far with the playoffs.
Brent Hubbs, VolQuest, joining us this morning on RK Dub. And speaking of those playoffs, when it comes to some of these assistants, and, this is also a talking point in college football where you're trying to keep these good coaches in this game and not have them leave, for the NFL. You were talking about how their current bonus structure is going to have to completely change once you have the expansion of the playoffs as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, and currently Tennessee's bonuses, they get an 8% bonus for making a bowl game. It goes to 12% for appearing in a New Year's Six bowl game, college football playoff access game, and it goes to 16% for participating in the semifinal game. You're just going to have to go in, and I don't think your numbers change, but you're going to have to redefine that structure. I was a little surprised with the new contracts they released this week that there wasn't a redefinition of the structure because, what is your bonus for getting into the playoffs? Is that going to be the same is it going to be 12% like it would be for a New Year's Six bowl? You just got to go in and do the wording and redefine it. It's not a huge deal, but everybody's got to go in and go, okay, what are we going to pay our coaches as a reward for making a 12-team playoff? What is that? What do we think that number is? What's that percentage bonus? That type of thing. Because right now everybody's bonus structures are set off for making the Final Four, the semifinals, and then making the finals. But now with the 12-team deal, you're just going to have to rewrite the wording in that and restructure your bonuses a little bit because everybody's trying to get to the college football playoff. That's the goal.
Switching over to the hardwood, Brent, when it comes to the Tennessee Volunteers, obviously a kind of nail biter up there in Missouri, but getting the job done. And Dalton Connect just continuing to prove why he's a difference maker. What has really shown to you that's made him so special? It's almost like he can just push the reset button so quick in the moment and, kind of just bleep out everything. If something bad happens, he's there to kind of catch him.
He's a basketball robot is what he is. I mean, he doesn't really have a conscience. He's what great scorers are supposed to be. That is, okay, I'm 0 for 10. It's all right. The next one's going in, right? I mean, it's like for us amateur hacks on the golf course where we say, well, we're not going to hit our driver. We hit it, we hit a driver and we hit it left in the woods and we hit it left in the woods and we hit it left in the woods. We think we're going to hit one straight. And we generally don't, but he does. And so, he's 0 for the other night, and he never flinched about shooting. Keep shooting an open shot. Go find a way to get to a bucket, create a bucket. And, Tennessee needed him in a big-time way in the second half, and he scores 15 points in 5 minutes at 4:55, whatever it was, and he took every shot except one. Now, Jonas Adu tipped in 2 of his misses,
right,
but the only shot he didn't take was an assist he threw to Awaka for a dunk. He literally just said, okay, I got you guys, let's go. And Tennessee's not had many guys like that. Guys who can create their own shot from all different levels of the floor, from three-point line to the mid-range jumper to getting to the rim. That's why a lot of people think this is Tennessee's best chance to make a run in March, is because if you're having a bit of you're having an off night, which Tennessee was shooting the basketball from the perimeter, this guy can catch fire at the right time. And he can save you. And that's what he did the other night. You look at it, I mean, he's got 3 games where he scored 20-plus points in the second half to help Tennessee win. I mean, they lose at Georgia if he doesn't score 20 points in the second half. They lose at Missouri if he doesn't do that. They may lose in Nashville against Vanderbilt if he doesn't go off in the second half. And so that's the unique thing about him is When he makes the first one, okay. If he makes the second one, look out. And when he made the second one at Missouri, everybody who's followed him all year long said, okay, it's coming. Here it is. And, he was unconscious for the next 3 or 4 minutes. And it saved Tennessee. That's the thing about him is he doesn't hesitate to shoot. You look at Josiah Jordan-James, if the first one doesn't go down, he becomes a little hesitant to take another shot. Santiago Vescovi right now, if he makes his first shot, he's got a chance to have a really nice night, which is why he went 4 for 5 at home, in the last home game. But then he goes to Missouri, he misses his first shot, and I think he took maybe 2 more, 1 more the rest of the entire game. That's just not the way Dalton Connect's built. He believes he's going to score every time he has the basketball in his hands. He believes every shot he takes is going in. And if he doesn't flinch because he's going to take the next one that comes his way.
Brent, on the way out, I know unless you are Clifton Corker, you have no idea what the decision or what the timeline of a decision is for Tennessee versus the NCAA. But is there any feeling around campus about a timeline for a resolution to the injunction hearing in that case?
Yeah, I mean, there's hope that it's coming next week. Most people I spoke with before the hearing thought 2 to 4 weeks on a response. Nobody thought it was coming the day of, and nobody even really thought it was coming the first week. So I don't think it'll come this afternoon. It could, I guess, but I would be surprised if it comes on a Friday. I think maybe early to mid next week. There's some hope that it may come down. No guarantees, but there's some hope that it can go that direction, and we'll see if that's what they end up doing. But hopefully, we'll know the next step in that process in terms of whether they win or they don't. By middle of part of next week is everybody's hope.
He is Brent Hubbs, VolQuest, and On 3. Ramon, you have something else?
Yeah, I just got to say, Hubbs, if on my official visit, they didn't have that cold Papa John pizza, a lanyard, and a rain jacket for me, I wasn't committing, okay? I just need you to know that. They ruined it. The NCAA is ruining it, okay?
Here's the other thing. I know we got to get out the door. Here's the other thing that's more important to watch with the NCAA is what are they going to do with the early signing date in December?
Yeah.
A lot of talk yesterday about moving it to the first Wednesday in December ahead of conference championship games. The commissioner of the SEC, Greg Sankey, says the December signing date doesn't work with the expansion of the playoffs. They need to make December dead. Now, if you make it dead, I don't know what you do about the transfer portal and when do kids sign. So there is some movement to try to relieve the month of December for coaches. How much relief they're going to do is going to be fascinating to watch. But that's something, take the cookie cakes and the jokes aside, that's a real thing that coaches are going to be watching closely because it looks like there's some potential tweaks to the month of December coming.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Brent Hubbs of VolQuest, our guest every Friday here on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Brent, excellent as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Yes, sir. There's Brent Hubbs with us this morning. No more cookie cakes for the 17-year-olds.
That's crazy.
We got cold Panera bagels. The Tennessee loves giving a bagel to anything in athletics. Any event we had, you never had a bagel. Yeah, y'all's food was warmed up and prepared to you probably on.
At least you know who paid the bills.
On very nice cutlery. You had fine china brought out for the young interior offensive lineman, then exterior offensive lineman from Ripley, Tennessee.
You joke, but for real.
No, I know.
Yeah, for real.
I'll tell you what, though, the chili dogs at halftime of football games when you go on visits at a football game, elite.
Yum. Sounds good.
Every non-revenue sport does every sport that visits for football games, they take you under the stadium at halftime and you have a halftime snack which they can give you, and it was chili dogs.
As my kids get closer to this recruiting phase, I'll report back to what happens on campus.
This is just us.
In that.
This is us lay people. That y'all will have fine china again. Like, look, they're gonna roll out the red carpet. I'm talking about athletes like me who did not matter and lost money for the university, not made them money. So don't worry about me. As always, I'm just making something about me that doesn't need to be made about me. Coming up, let's give some NSC tickets away. We've got 4 Nashville SC tickets for NSC and New York Red Bulls on Sunday. Listen for your chance to win coming up shortly, and more headlines next.